Ema the Beauty, one of my favorite stories. Sometimes I've told this story in environments where children have enjoyed the story, and they especially like the part when I express the behavior of the stepmother or the aunt, because I could make the aunt or whatever. And when I say, "Shut up, Ema," the children, they jump. And then I asked the children, how do you think that made Ema feel? And I can tell you invariably, I've told the story literally 100 times. Over 40 years, yes, that's possible. And the children say she felt sad, she felt angry, she felt hurt. And I like telling the story. I put that part about the stepmother that wasn't in the book that I learned the story from, because I recognize that children are having experiences where people relate to them in a certain kind of way. And I wanted to give them an opportunity to express how it would make them feel by relating to the character and putting themselves in her place. And most of the time when they share, I know they've had that experience. And even though I'm laughing now, I don't think when they experience it's funny to them. And that's why at a certain point in time, I had Ema learn how to deal with the feelings that she had. So I say that Ema would take a deep breath in. And sometimes I have the children practice taking in deep breaths and letting it go. And I say to them, if anything ever happens to you that frightens you or upsets you, remember, these are first graders, second graders, kindergartners. Take a deep breath in and let it out. There's so much research and nowadays even practices around breath work and the understanding of the importance of the breath, and how many people don't even breathe really deeply. They shallow breathe. They don't even breathe deeply from within themselves in the diaphragm area where the lower, the abdomen goes in and out, because you're fully expanding. So there's a lot that's been happening in the world that helps us to recognize that how you breathe and how you learn to breathe can be helpful to you. And Ema learned that she could take a deep breath in and she could release the tension that she was feeling. Taking a deep breath in also sometimes gives you the opportunity to deal with your thoughts and your emotions before you curse somebody out. You say, let me take a deep breath. Well, I'm going to curse her out. Anybody ever been in that space? Sometimes they take the breath and sometimes they just curse the person out, right? But taking that deep breath sometimes allows you to have just enough space to feel something different, especially if you practice it and it's intentional. I want to learn how to have more control over how I feel in a difficult situation. I don't want to react. I want to have the capacity to control what I say, control what I do, control how I feel, even by taking deep breaths. So that's one thing about taking deep breaths is great. And storytelling is also a way to convey messages. Messages like that taking a deep breath is something that can be helpful. Yes, so I want to talk a little bit more about storytelling, and I want to connect it to the poetry and the that I did in another video. If you haven't seen it, please go back and check out the video that I did about storytelling. and writing, storytelling and writing is something I want to talk about today. Before I talked about poetry and writing, and I've told stories, and now I just want to try to connect the dots, because what's connecting them is that these are things I do. What connects them is that I've learned certain things from doing the writing and the storytelling and the deep breaths. And I have found that telling stories can help me to convey a message about how important a breath is. And writing can allow me to also alter the state that I am in, and be able to gain control over my emotions, over my feelings. Yes. And so as we go forward, I'll share again and again, and maybe the connections will become clearer for you. But just let me share with you now that I have used storytelling to help people write. I've used stories to help people write. So I've told stories, that story, Ema, and asked people to write. In fact, my doctoral research was about the influence of storytelling on narrative writing. And I went into a classroom setting and I told Ema and other stories. And it was amazing how the students wrote stories that were similar to Ema's story, or they wrote stories that came out of their lives. Because I shared stories that came out of my life, like Minerva. That's another story I hope to share with you in the future. So what would I like for you to take away today from my sharing? I'd like you to know that most of the things that I do, I look for meaning. And when I can make connections to meaning in my life, then I try to share it with you. And so I hope that in some ways there are things that you may find more confidence in pursuing, more motivation to try again as I share my stories with you. Visualization is something else that I have done that helps me write, and it helps me to tell stories. So I have one more story for you, and this is from me doing a visualization about water. So I'll share it. So I was just sitting here and I was thinking about visualization and how I wanted to share it with you. And I said, okay, let's just quickly do a visualization about water. And just in a split second, a story came to me of an experience that I had in the Gambia, West Africa. Yes, I was on the Gambia side I was on the Senegal side of the river trying to cross over in a boat to the Gambia side. So I was in a car and I was waiting for the ferry to come. And at the last minute, I was told to just close the door because it was hot and we were going to go to the boat. We had made a connection and we were going to be able to go and get on the boat. We weren't sure we would have been able to prior to that. So the car was driven all the way to the edge of the dock. And the boat was revved up and it was full of people. And they were throwing my belongings on the boat and telling me to quickly jump in the boat. So here I am, I'm on this boat, and my things are here. In the water, I could literally put my hand in the water. That's how close I was to the edge. But I was very calm. I was very calm and I was very confident that I was going to be okay. And my travel mate was not. Um, it was a situation where I could have worried about if the things were going to fall in the water. I could have worried if I was going to fall in the water. There were cars that were parked, so all the passengers were higher, and I'm down there between a car, and my things are there. Um, but like from my story, Ema, I think I have developed over time a capacity to center myself in a place where I can be calm and grateful, calm and grateful. And I was grateful that we were on that boat because we would have had to spend the night in a strange place in a car. And I was calm because I was on the river and I was traveling in a boat. And it was just such a extraordinary experience for me. So maybe one day I can do a visualization about water or fire. I have a story about fire too. And another time I'll share it with you. For now, enjoy your evening or your morning, wherever you are, until we have the opportunity to connect. Thank you so much for checking in on me and listening to me and looking at me and being there for me and with me. And I hope I'm here for you and with you. Abiwa, Queen Mother of the Universe.